Hello, it's Dragon 1400, and this is Hey Arnold, Season 1, Episode 21 review. The name of the episode is Arnold's Christmas. Now, the first thing I have to say, this is like my favorite episode of all of Hey Arnold. Definitely 2 thumbs way up, 10 out of 10. Great episode. Amazing. I mean, it had some issues here and there, but overall, the episode was amazing. Now, from a Christian standpoint, I do wish they would have said the true meaning of Christmas was celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, who is the Savior. No one can come to the Father except through Jesus Christ. I know that's unpopular, but as a Christian, it is what I truly believe, and if I didn't believe it was true, I wouldn't believe it. So I do believe it is true. Now, besides that one point, the message they give is actually a good message from a Christian standpoint. It is basically dealing with being selfless instead of selfish. Now we get to see this with Helga, who is pretty much the main character of this episode. Now she starts off giving this like speech. I'm not going to quote her or anything, but it's basically saying how much she can get. That's the meaning of Christmas. That's what she thinks the meaning of Christmas is. The message at the end, the meaning of Christmas is actually helping other people out, what you can give them. Now, like I said, that's not the true meaning of Christmas, but that is a lesser meaning of Christmas. It's still a good moral, what I'm trying to say, and that's being selfless instead of selfish. And that's what kind of Helga learns throughout the episode. Now, one thing I really like about this episode is at the end, Helga does not reveal that she gave this amazing gift to Arnold, and the gift was basically that she gave up her snow boots that she really wanted in order to find Mr. Wynn's daughter, so that Arnold could get Mr. Wynn and his daughter back together as his gift to Mr. Wynn, which Mr. Wynn, by the way, never realizes that it's Arnold to do it. So it's another thing that I like, is that Arnold and Helga give these amazing gifts, and the person they give it to never knows that it's actually from them, which means that they did it completely selflessly. They did not expect anything in return. They just wanted to give these amazing gifts purely out of selflessness, which is an amazing moral at the end. I really do enjoy it. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't, every gift you give should be like anonymous or whatever like that. No, I'm not saying that at all. But the fact is that they showed it in such a way that the person giving the gift did not get anything, even recognition of giving the gift in return. That just screams selflessness to me. And it's a very stark comparison the way Helga was at the beginning, where she wanted basically all the gifts, how much she could get from the Christmas season, which is very selfish. So it was amazing seeing Helga's character growth there, and she's pretty much the only one who grows in this episode. But the focus is so much on her because Arnold already is trying to do the right thing. Basically, he's already trying to bring Mr. Wynn and his daughter back together for him to see his daughter after like 20 years, which is over 20 years probably, which is a really amazing gift, and he tries really hard to do it. And though we can see like his struggle and really trying to do it, getting all the Christmas gifts, trying to find the snow boots and unable to do it at the end, and basically that's kind of heartbreaking. We get this weird scene, which is a critique of the episode, where Helga finds out what it's all about, and it's like, yeah, I don't think Arnold and Gerald would have actually said it that way. It was like a plot setup where Helga would actually figure out what's going on. However, the episode's so good that I just like, well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And then like Helga's like given that choice of giving up her snow boots or not, and she ends up giving them up. She's caused like a moral dilemma, but it's obvious what she should really do. Anyway, so beyond that, like the separation that Mr. Wynn and his daughter actually got, like towards the beginning of the episode when he's telling the story, this is like more of a minor thing. I really like how Mr. Wynn really like emphasized that even though he was living in this like pretty much third world country, or maybe a second world, I don't really know, but he was basically living in huts. And though he said he had like a great life because he had his daughter, he never even mentioned like his wife. So something might have happened to her as well. But he was like, I have a great life because I have my daughter in my life. that is really touching. That is really amazing. And sometimes we, in this first world nations that we live in, maybe you don't, but most people probably watching this do. Sometimes we got to see, okay, I actually have a great life. No one's life is perfect, but I have my family around me, and that's like the most important thing. A lot of times we think, oh, if I can get this computer, this car, this house, I'll be happy. But to Mr. Wynn, all that he really wanted was his family, which is amazing. And that's kind of how we really should actually view things, that there are so much more important things than material things. Material things will never truly make you happy. And that's another like moral of this episode. We found out with Helga that she was happy at the end because of the good she did, even though she gave up the material thing that she actually wanted. So there's a lot of good morals in this episode. Now, what ended up happening to Third World Nation was that Mr. Wynn was in with his daughter, was that it was basically at war, and the U.S. soldier only had really one spot on the plane, even though everyone wanted to get out of the country because they're refugees. It's a war crisis in their country, and he actually ended up taking the baby and told Mr. Wynn a city where it was, and it happens to be the city where, well, of course it is the city where he went to find his daughter, which I think is based off New York, but they didn't say, they just said this city, which was really kind of strange the way they did that. They should just like name the city. They should just say New York, but maybe there's legal reasons why they didn't. So dealing with that, there's like a lot of political stuff going on, and I usually don't talk about politics. This episode kind of directly relates to it. What happened to Mr. Wynn and his family was that they were fleeing a war directly in their country. The war got closer and closer until they basically had to get out of the country because of the war. What's going on right now with the migration crisis, particularly in the U.S., has nothing to do with war. Let's just be honest. It has nothing to do with war. Maybe 1% of the people are fleeing something like a war, but this is really, they're fleeing for economic reasons so that they have a better life in the United States or in like Europe and stuff like that. This really has nothing to do with that. And even back then, there is like a limit about how much refugees you can economically sustain in your country. I know that's harsh, but the best way to actually help these countries, and I'm just going to say this, the best way to help countries that are in third world is to freely give up your time and money to help that country build up their economy so they become a second world and then a first world nation. That is the best way to do it, and that is really long term the only sustainable way to do it. Because if everyone in third world countries go to developed nations, all those developed nations will become third world nations because of overpopulation. The majority of people will be living off welfare, and welfare won't be able to afford it, and the economy itself will collapse. Basically, it's a harsh reality. So the best way to actually help these people, and usually I don't talk about politics, but I'm just going to mention this. The best way to help these people is to freely give your time and money to help them build their country up. If you really want to help them, put your money where your mouth is. Basically, that's all I'm going to say on that. Anyway, this was a great episode. There was a lot of good morals in this episode, and a little bit of politics dealing with Mr. Wynn's story that actually relate to what's going on right now, even though it was a much different situation. This episode, actually, I almost shed a tear at the end of it when I was rewatching it. And if any like episode or show or movie or whatever can do that to me, because that really never happens to me, very rarely, then I was definitely emotionally touched by the episode. It was extremely good episode. That part at the end where Mr. Wynn and his daughter reunite, that's where I almost shed a tear. That was amazing. Seeing Helga's growth from a very selfish character at the beginning to giving something very selflessly, like she did a 180 pretty much, was really good. Seeing Arnold and Gerald really try really hard to and I like to mention this about Gerald. Gerald actually the beginning was more towards Helga, but towards the end, after he saw it was helping Arnold out, he saw like the value of gift giving and stuff, because he was just going to give everyone a tie, but then it was impersonal that Arnold was saying, and that Gerald was actually giving us kind of mini speech to Helga about the gift she was going to give Arnold, which was some video game, how it was very impersonal. Anyway, that being aside, hope you guys enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. This is definitely a longer one, but there was a lot here. See you in the next one. Bye.